Hey there, Shannon, did you know it's National Nap Day? And I think it should actually have been yesterday because you and I flew that red-eye home, and I was pretty tired yesterday.
You know, right after Martin Truex Jr. crossed that finish line, I hit the on-off button and I was asleep. Did I miss anything?
Bad move. Bad move. Post-race right here. You didn't really
Of course, people. I saw it. I saw it.
NASCAR Race Hub. Let's knock it out.
Tonight on the Hub, what a start to the West Coast swing, literally. Martin Truex Jr. dominates all three stages and brings home the trophy for his first win of the year. We'll talk to Martin and hear firsthand just how it all went down in Winners Weekend.
And welcome to the Monster Energy Series. There were a few extracurriculars going on after the race, and we'll cover the action from every angle. Let's get ready to roll NASCAR Race Hub right now. Here we go on a Monday edition of NASCAR Race Up, the program presented by Ram Trucks, Guts, Glory, Ram, with Shannon Spake, who is wide awake. I'm Adam Alexander, Drew Blickensderfer is here, and Casey Mears. So much to talk about from Las Vegas.
That's right, and we're going to get into the fight. We're going to get into all of this, but the thing that I took away from the racing itself was just the stage racing, how exciting it's really made the race themselves.
I think it's definitely brought a lot to the sport. As soon as they decided to make that decision, I was all for it. I mean, I just thought it was a great idea to create something, you know, throughout the middle part of these races, and it's doing it. I mean, guys are driving way harder than you'd expect them to at that point in the race to earn a point or two or just get inside that.
And let's face it, when you run good, it doesn't matter what the format is, right, Drew? You guys were solid on Sunday. Congrats.
It was great. You know, for us as a team that struggled at Atlanta to come to Vegas a week later in a similar racetrack and run against the 48 and the 5 and guys we hadn't raced around for a while, it showed progress, so it was good.
Let's look back at round 3 in 2017. It's a little race in 90. We're live from Las Vegas on a Sunday afternoon. It was spectacular all weekend, and they're the hometown guys, Kurt and Kyle, and everybody chasing Brad Keselowski, who started on the pole after winning last week. And his Ford teammate, not good. Kevin Harvick's fast race car blows a tire. He's into the wall and finished deep in the field. Not the afternoon he was looking for.
Then Joey Logano thinking all about points. He stays out on those old tires, and that would be bad because once it went green, he fell back to 19th. Martin Truex Jr. won stage 1 with Kyle Larson and Ryan Blaney right behind him.
Strategy at the end of stage 1, same thing stage 2. Jimmy Johnson, Kurt Busch out on older tires. Didn't work for them either because there goes that 78 driving to the front. He's 2 for 2 looking for the sweep on Sunday.
This happened behind him. Don't tell me that these guys are not thinking about points because you got the 22 and the 24. They are battling for 4th, and that's 6 points. So they are definitely going, leaving it all out there.
Not a great homecoming for Kurt Busch. Battery issues. He finished in the 30th position.
And then Keselowski hunting down Martin Truex Jr. He took the lead from the 78, but then with 24 to go, Danica Patrick blows an engine. Brad Keselowski does win the race off pit road, a little bit of redemption from last weekend when he had those lug nut issues. But he would take the lead, but it's not over, is it?
Well, you know, I thought it was. I thought he was going to drive away. Second year in a row in Las Vegas, but something goes wrong, and with just a couple of laps to go, there goes Truex, checkered flag. He gets his first win of the year, the 8th of his career.
And something didn't go wrong for the 78, but something did go wrong for the 18 and the 22. Of course, this is what we're all talking about. The contact on the racetrack that sends Kyle Busch down pit road, and then the contact after the race when Kyle Busch walked down. He threw a punch at Joey Logano. Crew guys got involved. NASCAR got involved. There was some blood. Vince Welch was very busy.
It wasn't pretty on pit road, but one guy had it all worked out. Martin Truex Jr., who's a winner.
It's a gift. I mean, you know, it's just, we've been on the other side of them plenty of times. So it's the first one we've ever kind of had one come our way. But can't say enough about everybody on this team, Cole and Jazzy. And they made a lot of changes last night. And I said, let's go for it. And we did. So just really proud, you know, the first victory for the 2018 Camry. Out here on the West Coast, this is a big one for us. I felt like the race didn't play into our hands. That we had to go really long on that last set of tires, and Brad was really good on long run all day, and he was always catching us at the end, and we had to stretch it, and I was driving my little butt off. I couldn't keep him behind me, and you know, we got a little bit lucky there, but that's why you never give up and you fight till the end.
Let's look at those results. Martin Truex Jr., first win of the year. He's locked into the playoffs. He's won 5 times in the last 27 races, more than anybody else. And there were 6 drivers inside the top 10 that scored points in every stage. And I know you're celebrating Clint Boyer's top 10.
Absolutely, yeah. First top 10 since July in Daytona last year. So big weekend for Clint. And here are some notables. Take a look at the top, number 14, 43 car. How about that, Drew?
Yeah, I like it.
All right, you see Eric Jones down there, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Danica Patrick, 36, Kevin Harvick all the way down in 38th. But, man, 14th place, pretty good.
That's real good. I'd like to be on that first page next week. Let's go for that.
So Martin Truex Jr., this season didn't start great for this team at Daytona. They had all of those inspection issues. But, the last couple weeks at these mile-and-a-halves, they've really kind of shown where their strength is.
Well, that's been their bread and butter. They've been really fast on the downforce tracks. The mile-and-a-halves, they led 1,809 laps last year, most of them on mile-and-a-halves. And they led almost all the laps at the Coke 600 last year. So the mile-and-a-halves is, they've kind of taken off exactly where they left off last year.
But that Coke 600 victory, their first in 2016, winning in race 3 this year, how does that change the game?
I mean, it's got to feel great, one, to win early, but knowing that you're in the playoffs at this point, it just kind of takes some weight off your shoulders, right? And they're already running hard. Obviously, they led up the most laps this weekend, but taking that weight off and knowing that you got that win in the bank is definitely key.
And when I think about them and how this sets them up for future success, because you talked about how good they are on the mile-and-a-half, Drew, but that's the lifeblood of what this sport is all about.
The other thing they're really good at is having a little different strategy than everybody else. So with fast race cars and Cole Pearn calling the shots, they can go for point wins or segment stage wins. They can do things like that they wouldn't if they didn't have that win already. They can collect points and set themselves off for a playoff.
Yeah, and these guys are kind of continuing to do what they did last season. The middle part of last year and the tail end of the season, they were so strong, and they're right where they left off.
You know what we need right now? We need a bell out here. Ding, 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 because we're transitioning to our fight coverage. It was Kyle Busch. It was Joey Logano. They didn't agree on track, off track, and both of them talking to Vince Welch post-race.
You throw a penny.
With Joey Logano now, and Joey, what happened when Kyle came to the car? What transpired there?
There wasn't much talking. There's a lot of swinging. I don't know. I was racing hard there at the end with our Pennzoil Ford, and Kyle and I usually race really well together. Usually never have any issues, and he tried to, pin me down into the corner underneath Brad, and we about crashed on entry, and then I was still trying to gather it up by the center, and I was going to spin out, so I'm trying to chase it up, and he was there. So, obviously nothing intentional, but obviously he thinks that, so I don't know, we'll move on.
Any blows landed between the two of you?
None to me.
Kyle, what led to your anger at the end?
I got dumped. Flat out just drove straight in the corner and wrecked me.
Any conversation between you and Joey, or was it just the fisticuffs?
That's how Joey races, so he's going to get it.
So emotion and authenticity are two things NASCAR and Monster Energy, the Cup Series sponsor, both want. Joining us now is Alan Cavanna. Alan, we saw both of those yesterday from Kyle Busch, and Jeff Gluck had the best view. He was right down there with his phone recording the entire thing, and you spoke with Gluck. What did he have to say?
Yeah, Shannon, he told me it was really just a matter of being in the right place at the right time. Jeff Gluck, a popular writer for NASCAR, he was walking down pit road, as reporters do, for post-race interviews, when he saw Kyle Busch there, the guy in yellow, walking a lot faster than he was. Well, this piqued Gluck's interest, and he started rolling on his phone, and to his surprise, right there, he captured a really good angle of this confrontation, and then, all of a sudden, found himself in the middle of it all. You can see the crew guys getting involved a little bit, pulling it apart. It's this video that's been playing all over the world all day, Shannon.
Some guys may have been lucky at those craps tables, but I say Jeff Gluck got the luckiest in Vegas. But, Alan, this isn't the first off-track fight we've seen in recent years in NASCAR. And there have been fines, but we haven't seen drivers suspended. What exactly does the NASCAR rulebook lay out as potential penalties?
Well, really, NASCAR has a lot of leeway when it comes to what it can do, if anything, when it comes to the fighting. Here's what it says in the rule book. This is under member conduct guidelines. It's the last line on there that's actually the most important. It says physical confrontations can mean a penalty of up to 50 points, a $100,000 fine, even a suspension. But NASCAR has a lot of discretion when it comes to what it does. when it comes to punishing drivers.
And Alan, in past years, we've seen those penalties come down on a Tuesday, so we'll be waiting to see if anything comes down tomorrow. But what is NASCAR saying? What have they said over the last 24 hours?
A lot of talk today, actually. Both Chairman Brian France and Executive Vice President Steve O'Donnell were on the radio today sharing their thoughts about the incident. And after their initial reaction, they say it's really to not react at all.
It's certainly under review. You know, we've always said we've got to take everything, make sure we look at all the video. I would say just from, you know, our initial assessment last night and looking at what happened, I think, you know, as far as on track, I don't think we saw anything that was intentional. You know, we'll continue to review that. We've got to have discussions with both drivers. We talked to some folks post-race as well. I think our intention would be not to react unless we see something, you know, that we haven't seen yet. But, you know, it's an emotional sport, and I think it shows exactly how much every position means on the track.
Things happen that they're going to happen in a race. It's not terribly crazy to understand. Emotions are going to boil over sometimes. We get that. Obviously, there will be no retaliation. That will not be happening. And, you know, we'll look at the tape and look at the remember participation and different things, but we also want to be realistic that this is a lot of pressure on these guys to do well and compete at a high level. And when something goes terribly wrong, as it did for Kyle, emotions are going to get the best of all of us at some point or another. Obviously, that's what happened on Sunday.
Now, O'Donnell also added today they intend to have a sit-down meeting with Busch and Logano. NASCAR says if that happens, it would likely be at the track in Phoenix on Friday, Shannon.
Thanks, Alan. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in the holler for that one.
all?
Yeah, so it's interesting. We've been talking since you guys got here today about how other sports, every sport, we see emotions, we see fights, we see people get into it. And now in NASCAR, you feel like almost with Monster Energy coming in, they're a little edgier. The emotions, they want these drivers to show their emotions a little more.
Yeah, you heard it with Steve O'Donnell and Brian France saying the word emotion about 3 or 4 times in that discussion. And I think with NASCAR and with Monster wanting to show some of that emotion, and they're not really going to downgrade that, hey, that happened, but we're going to celebrate the racing. We're going to show some of the emotion, too. And you see it in other sports. You see it in baseball. You see it in football. You see other guys get upset and go after each other, and it happens in our sport. It's competitive.
Ironically, before the race, these two, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, at the driver intro stage, talking and laughing, sharing a fun moment, and then this happens post-race. So when you go through this on track and then off track, how does it change things for the drivers, Casey?
Well, I mean, everybody's different, right? You got to look at the different characters that are involved. Everybody responds to things differently, but typically NASCAR's had some conversations with these guys by now. You know, as they go down the road, they're going to have a conversation as well. I mean, with they're looking like there's not going to be a penalty, obviously it changes the way you might want to recover that issue that you have with that guy too. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. In the past, it would be very strict that you had to sit down, figure it out, get past it, and move on. But with this being opened up a little bit more now, it is interesting to see, and it'll be curious to see how it all plays out from here.
So last week, the 2 words were too fast. This week, the words are no retaliation.
Yes.
No retaliation.
Roll with an iron fist.
Yes. So fans, we want you guys to get involved. Join our conversation. Connect live. So we have a handful of questions that have to do with the fight and Vegas and everything that went down. So log on to foxsports.com/vote and let your voice be heard. We'll let you know what the questions are a little bit later.
And when we continue, it all came down to a late race pass to seal the win for the 78 team. Mark Truex Jr., crew chief Cole Pern, break it down. It's their first win of the Monster Energy Series. Winners weekend is straight ahead. And Rowdy Busch living up to his nickname post-race in Las Vegas. We're going next level with that on the way. And we're also going to hear from Vince Welsh. It's NASCAR Race Up. It's Monday. Our next level when we return. Stay with us.
This is going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly down here, boys. And Busch is around.
I was going to spin out, so I'm trying to chase it up, and he was there. Yeah, obviously nothing intentional, but
I got dumped. Flat out just drove straight in the corner and wrecked me. That's how Joey races, so he's going to get it.
Any blows landed between the two of you?
none to me.
Did Darrell Waltrip call that or what? He said twice it's going to get ugly, and it did. That's what he thought when it was happening. What were his thoughts post-race? Here is Darrell with Mike Joy and Jeff Gordon.
What a wonderful win. Brad Keselowski was driving away, and here's Truex, leads the most laps, wins stage 1, wins stage 2, is able to come back and go to victory lane because, folks, it's never over until it's over. I think Yogi Berra said that, but we can all say that. And then it wasn't even over. We've got cars spinning out and crashing all the way across the start-finish line, all the way back to Ricky Stenhouse, but most importantly, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano.
Yeah, I mean, when the white flag comes out, I mean, all bets are off. I mean, that was aggressive racing. Keselowski was in the way, and the 18 and the 22, you'll see right here, the 18 turns right down in front of Joey Logano. They made contact. Joey said, okay, I'll just drive it in here real hard. Man, he got loose. He got up into Kyle. They spin. That's just hard racing. That's all that is.
Yeah, I don't really see where Kyle had much of a choice. The two-car Brad Keselowski was really slowing down abruptly, and he had to go left. Maybe even Logano was trying to use that as a pick, right? Sure. So he goes left. They make contact. Obviously, that upsets the 22. They go in there. I thought the 18 gave him plenty of room as they got to the middle of 3 and 4, but Joey just drove in there so aggressively. They're just battling hard. That was just great racing on the final lap. Now, what happened on pit road? A little bit different. No. And I've been in this situation, and I know what it's like. You go to confront somebody, and you just don't like the way it's going, and sometimes it turns into a big mess like this.
8 tires are always better than 4.
Good hard racing led to plenty of hard feelings.
Let's go one more step with that final lap at Las Vegas on Sunday afternoon. Next level with Casey. You heard what the fella said there. I go with Darrell Waltrip. Last lap, it's all about aggression, right?
It definitely was. I mean, you're coming into the last corner on the last lap. You got to do what you got to do to get all the spots you can.
Let's play this thing and just watch how it unfolds on the final lap. Kyle Busch outside of Joey Logano.
Yep, and going down the backstretch here, you see Kyle catching the 2 and knowing that he's got to get around him. Joey's knowing that he's got to keep Kyle behind him at some point. And right here, Joey gets a little loose, gets into Kyle, and all of a sudden it's a bad day for Kyle and not such a bad day for Joey.
And when these two are going after it on the final lap, there's going to be no give. It's all take for Joey Logano and Kyle Busch. We want to know what you think at home. Go to foxsports.com/vote. It's Connect Live. Who's responsible for the last lap crash? Was it Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, both or neither? You can vote right now. We're going to go to the next angle. And Casey, let's point out the players. Number 1, right here is Brad Keselowski. We know he's off the pace. Number 2 is going to be right here, Kyle Busch. And you've got over there Logano.
We got Logano here. So there, right now, Kyle's thinking, I got to get over. Joey's going, I got to keep him behind the 2.
And is Logano anticipating that Kyle may swing down?
He should, because Kyle, right? Kyle's going to make a bold move, and Joey's just doing all he can to keep him back there.
So here we go. We play it out. And here's Kyle. Boom. Swinging down.
Big hit right there. And that put Joey at a little bit of a bad angle getting into 3.
So yeah, when you play this on, going to 3, Kyle kind of in that middle lane, and right here, how do you evaluate Joey's position?
Yeah, at this point, he's corrected it pretty well. He's got a pretty good line going. He's where he needs to be. Kyle's the same. He's giving Joey plenty of room going into the corner. But then, as you go a little further, right there.
Check it. Right there.
Yeah,
look at that.
He gets loose and kind of clips the apron and starts coming up. As you can see right here, you can see that Joey's starting to correct. Okay, so at this point, he's going to go wide regardless of what happens, and the 18 happens to be there.
How much of this for Joey is a product of he got out of shape down the back straightaway, he's upset, right, and he loses his mark going into the corner, versus him just saying, all bets are off, I'm going to drive in as hard as I can and see what happens?
Well, I'm guessing the majority of the race, Joey didn't approach the corner quite like he did on this last lap, So, definitely what happened early on affected his entry a little bit. But at the same time, he's upset about it, right? So he's probably after the throttle a little harder. He clips the apron, gets loose, and gets into 18, and the rest is history.
Let's close the vote, see what the fans think. Is it Joey's fault, Kyle's fault, both, or neither? They say both at 40%. I would agree with that. They both had a little hand in it, right?
Absolutely. I tend to agree agree. They both were expecting somebody to do something else, and it just didn't happen.
Now the question becomes, will there be retaliation? They're back on track. Basically a short track this weekend, the Desert Mile, Phoenix Raceway. You can watch it all on Fox, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And as always, we're live at Fox Sports Go. The other story out of Las Vegas, the guy that won the race. First victory of the year for Martin Truex Jr. We got a full recap. It's Winners Weekend, and it's next on NASCAR Race Hub.
I kind of got that adrenaline going. I got a little jacked up, and I'm like, there's still a chance. It's not over yet.
Welcome back to Race Hub. Our Ram Guts Glory moment of the race comes with 2 laps to go as Martin Truex Jr. was chasing down Brad Keselowski and having no luck after dominating when the 2-car had a right front mechanical failure. BK fell off the pace, opening the door for the fastest car all day to go to victory lane. Our Ram Guts Glory moment of the race. Now, it's sort of ironic that a fight is making the headlines today. Ironic because if there's one team that had to fight through the first week of the season, it's Furniture Row. Inspection issues, the logistics of trying to fix those, it set the team way back. But on Sunday, it was all about going forward.
This is the 3rd race of the Monster Energy Cup season.
We're in Vegas. It's all about the gambling. Who's going to take the risk and chances on the track and on pit road?
Martin Truex Jr. will start on the front row just outside pole sitter Brad Keselowski.
We ended practice with some questions and made quite a few changes last night to it to try to be better for the race. And that's, I think, one of our strong suits as a team.
All right, my hero. Racing hard all day, being smart.
Good luck in there today, guys. Go get them. That's that fun, man. Go fight all day and make the most of it.
Coming to the green this time.
Martin Truex, big wind-up off turn number 2, edges ahead of Keselowski. Midpoint of the backstretch, Keselowski stuffs it into turn 3, forges ahead.
Brad Keselowski continues to lead. He's actually started to pull away a little bit from Martin Truex Jr.
I felt like we were better on the short run a bit than them, but, you know, they definitely had a little bit on us in the long run.
Starting to swing the back end.
Oh, turn 1, hard in the wall. A tire went down on Kevin Harvick's car.
Hold your breath, race fans. This is going to be exciting. 5 laps to the first green checker flag.
Look, here comes the 78 if Truex taking advantage.
Outside. Outside, outside, clear. Use it up over here, buddy. New leader, 78. First stage win of the year, MTJ. Hi, boy.
Halfway through stage 2, Martin Truex Jr. has now led 6 times as many laps today as in his previous 11 races at Las Vegas.
Trouble turn 2, guys, turn 2.
Caution's out now, caution's out.
Truex will line up behind Jimmy Johnson, who did not pit.
Jimmy Johnson, he's trying to hang on to that top spot, but with fresh tires, he's got nothing from Martin Truex Jr.
Stage 2 winner, TJ.
We're going to have a battle for the lead here in just a little bit. Keselowski is on a mission.
That last long run, we had to run longer on tires than we had all day long, and it was a handful, and I was struggling at the end of those runs.
He just doesn't feel like he has any left side grip. That's been the difference.
He's got some left side company.
Keselowski on the inside, Truex to the outside. New leader off the 4.
My track bar adjuster quit working during that run. I couldn't do anything. I was just handcuffed out there just riding.
Have a look at my track bar where it's at cold. It's not working anymore. Just on the back straight, try and wiggle it, bumping up and down. I'm being cold, ain't doing nothing.
I thought we were really toast. I thought we were just going to run second.
Anything can happen. You just got to stay close enough to take advantage.
I want blowing up big time into turn 1. Caution's out.
There we go, 4 tires.
Keep digging. Second.
You beat the 78 here. No, you're going to have about 10 to go. So you set your switches for that. It's going to be a shootout.
Green flag.
78's even with you.
Who's blocking the 18 right there, still outside? Truex on the inside by himself. If he gets by you, you're clear right there. Still clear by one.
Close the door right here.
He looked pretty solid when he passed us. So at that point, I thought we were in trouble.
Pulling away, 5 to Truex, 10 to the crowd. Oh, track bar, where are thou?
It'll be 5 laps to go this time. Keselowski out front.
I was pretty pessimistic about our chances at that point.
Just smooth here, bud. 3 laps to go right now. Need 2 laps. Ah, something broke.
2's got a problem.
Truex digging hard on the inside.
Still there, all clear. Hell yeah! Right here, check a flag. Martin Truex Jr., you are the man.
Martin Truex is money in Las Vegas.
Well, can't believe we're lucky anymore.
You know, we've been on the losing side of those deals, I feel like, a lot in the last couple of years.
It's the first time we ever got to give. Never give up, baby.
Just hopefully we can continue to ride this wave, keep this train rolling, and keep clicking them off.
One of the great stories in 2016 is how strong that 78 team was. But one big change in 2017, adding a second car in rookie Eric Jones. But based on what we saw yesterday, they haven't missed a beat, Casey.
It's such a good sign because I think everybody is scared whenever you start a second team within an organization. Is the biggest thing you don't want it to do is drag down the one that you already have there that's doing well. And obviously with the success that they had this weekend, Martin Truex winning that race, it was huge. And I think that they're going to contribute eventually to a already strong program.
Yeah, you see the numbers there. And oh, by the way, that 77 team, top 15 back-to-back races. That's good as well.
What stands out to me is swept all 3 stages. And I'm wondering, Drew, as a crew chief, we're all still learning this stage racing. What have you learned about how you guys have to attack those different stages?
Well, I think it's a little different at different racetracks. At Daytona is a different animal. In Atlanta, tires were such a premium that you came and got tires no matter what. You didn't even think about staying out. But at Vegas, there's an opportunity where you could stay out. And in years past, like we talked about, you could have stayed out in the 22 or the 48, the 41. They would have had a chance to stay up there and lead with all the downforce and the hard tire. Now that we've got a softer tire and less downforce, it provides an opportunity to kind of mix it up at the end. And you saw that twice in Vegas.
You said that Indy, Pocono, road courses, we're really going to kind of see things mix up.
Yeah, places where fuel mileage comes into play. There's guys like A.J. Allmendinger, and there's guys that are road course aces. They're not going to jeopardize their race finish for a segment win, maybe the way the race falls out. But there's guys that are going to run 20th that they're going to get stage points because you can do things there.
How good is this 78 team? Let's go to the Connect Live vote, foxsports.com/vote, the place to be. You can weigh in. So last year they won 4 times. How many victories for Team 78 this year? 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 plus? What do you guys think? Right now the vote says 35%. 36% saying 5 or 4.
I'm going 5 plus just based on the mile and a half and starting off so soon on what do we go to 10, 11, 12? I mean, so many.
And they could have won more last year, right? We agree with that. They're playing on house money now. They've already got a ticket.
Absolutely.
A ticket punch, so they can gamble in a car that's that fast that can gamble freely like that. They're going to be fast.
They got a very good shot at being 5 plus.
Yeah.
It's to win this early in the season. They're on the right track to.
So we're going to close the vote here and see what everybody at home has to say. 5 plus.
Yep.
Ding, ding, ding,
We're
ding.
convincing, aren't we?
Yeah.
You started that trend, Shannon. You said 5 plus,
yes.
and the people at home went that.
I'm a trendsetter.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
So one guy that was pretty busy post-race yesterday is our pit reporter, Vince Welch. He was the guy who talked to both of the guys after this happened. And we'll hear exactly what happened when the cameras weren't rolling, what Vince saw when we come back.
Back on the hub, and it is time for the Bear Fast Action Recap. Driver Martin Truex Jr. swept all 3 stages on Sunday en route to his first victory of 2017. But the fireworks, they didn't happen until the race was over. Kyle Busch, unhappy with Joey Logano, and walked down pit road to show his displeasure. The two were eventually separated. Still no word on any forthcoming penalties.
With Joey Logano now, and Joey, what happened when Kyle came to the car? What transpired there?
There wasn't much talking. Just a lot of swinging. I don't know. I was racing hard there at the end with our Pennzoil Ford, and Kyle and I usually race really well together. We usually never have any issues, and he tried to, pin me down into the corner underneath Brad, and we about crashed on entry, and then I was still trying to gather it up by the center, and I was going to spin out, so I'm trying to chase it up, and he was there. So, obviously nothing intentional, but obviously he thinks that, so we'll move on.
Any blows landed between the two of you?
None to me.
Kyle, what led to your anger at the end?
I got dumped. Flat out just drove straight in the corner and wrecked me.
Any conversation between you and Joey, or was it just the fisticuffs?
That's how Joey races, so he's going to get it.
Great hustle yesterday by Vince Welsh post-race on Fox. He joins us now on NASCAR Race Up. Vince, it's great to have you with us. And first off, you had a front row seat. What did you see on the pit lane yesterday?
Well, it's interesting. I was getting ready to do the interview with Kyle Larson, who had finished second in the race, and then noticed that the scuffle had started and all the movement. So I actually didn't see the initial contact between Kyle and Joey. Got there on the aftermath of it, and then, of course, had the conversation with Joey afterwards about what happened, and Kyle, too.
You talked to Joey there on pit road, and then had to hustle, I'm guessing, over to the care center is where you caught up with Kyle Busch. How were his emotions when he walked from the infield care center?
Well, and it's difficult, too, Adam, if I'll just add that when you haven't seen the replay, as I had not at that time, to have that conversation with Joey and then ensuing conversation with Kyle, because as a reporter, too, I was just catching a little bit of the replays because we were on the run. So some of that I hadn't fully seen. Kyle's emotions, I think you saw it on camera. He had only spent a few minutes, a very short amount of time in the care center, and I think you saw with the blood on his face that he wasn't really interested in receiving any care because they didn't even have time to wipe it off his face before he left. So obviously he was agitated, and as expected, you know, those guys are working so hard, they're driving so hard. Neither he or Joey are going to give an inch on the last lap for a top 5 spot. We wouldn't expect that. So I wasn't surprised by his emotions at all, and I was actually glad that he gave the comments that he did.
You mentioned the blood on his forehead, and I know you said you were a little bit late in getting over to watch exactly what transpired, but when he went to the ground, did you see what caused him to get injured there on the head? Did he get punched? Did he hit the ground? Did you see that?
I could not see the punches being thrown, and I spoke with Kyle's PR representative, Bill Janetz, afterwards about where the blood came from, and Bill indicated to me that the blood came from Kyle hitting his head in the fall of the scrum, not from a particular blow from any one of either Logano or any one of Logano's workers, or team members. So my understanding, although I didn't personally see it, was that Kyle had either hit his head maybe on the hood of the car or on the ground in the fall during the scrum.
When these things happen, there tends to be an elevated buzz at the racetrack. How would you describe that after the festivities yesterday?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about it. There was a buzz at the track. There was a buzz even back at the hotel after the race, riding up in the elevator with some people that had been at the race. That's what they were talking about. I mean, there's no question there was heightened electricity after that took place for sure.
When you went to Vegas, you thought you had signed up to call a race. You didn't know you were going to be talking boxing. Vince, thanks for being with us, and we'll see you this weekend in Phoenix, all right?
Yeah, great to be with you, Adam. Thanks.
Appreciate Vince taking some time on his day off out in Las Vegas. And the one aspect of this story that we've not touched on, the roles the crews play in circumstances like this. And I think about the two teams. And what do you do as a crew chief? What do you tell your guys when two drivers are going at it?
Well, I do it a couple times during the year, and tomorrow will be a good time to refresh this course of you protect your driver. You protect your guy. You know, you don't want your driver getting hurt. You don't want guys come over and swinging punches. And for one, he's got to drive the car the next week. And for two, he's your teammate. You know, it's kind of a life goal. It's kind of a team goal where you protect the guy next to you and your buddy. And that's what they were doing. And these guys did a really good job of it.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And from the driver perspective, you don't want to see that because you're on a beeline. You want to go get this guy, right? And if you're on the receiving end of it, you want to be able to get him back. You know, so you don't want to see it get stopped at that moment. But really, the best thing that could happen is that those guys come in, slow things down. The worst thing that could happen if one of those guys get involved and make it worse. It escalates. They throw a punch, and that's the worst thing that could happen. So I agree. You know, if having those guys get involved and slow things down is a good thing.
And let's face it, every sport, if a player gets in a fight, it's going to be hard to keep their teammates from getting involved. So that's certainly something something we see in every sport. Alan Cavanna is back with us again. So, Alan, this isn't the first time that we've seen drivers come to blows. So let's take a little walk down memory lane, shall we? How does this one compare to those in the past?
Well, Shannon, Sunday's incident's quite similar to what we've seen in the past. On-track incidents carrying over to some post-race fighting. Remember Richmond 2014? Marcus Ambrose, he punched our own Casey Mears. You'll see it coming up. Right in the face. NASCAR fined Ambrose $25 grand for that punch and even got Casey for $15,000. Later that year in Charlotte, Brad Keselowski, Matt Kenseth got physical. Now, neither of the drivers fined there for fighting. Brad was fined for what he did earlier with his car. And then a few weeks later in Texas, same year, Brad and Jeff Gordon go at it in this infamous fight. The drivers, again, not punished for fighting, but some of the crew members you see in that video were suspended. Now, NASCAR clearly takes this on a case-by-case basis. And from what we've heard today, we shouldn't expect much punishment from Sunday.
I think we should just run those highlights the rest of the show. You know, post-race, Joey Logano said that there were a lot of fists flying, but he said he did not get hit. There's a different story out there, though, Alan. What is it?
Well, look, important or not, it does seem to be the debate of the day. Did Joey Logano get punched or not? We've seen the video. It does appear Kyle Busch connected with his punch, but radio reporter Jim Noble was just a few feet away. He says that's exactly what happened, to which Logano replied on Twitter, #fake news. And we know Logano did seem fine during an interview right after the incident. So, Shannon, we just have to let the debate rage on.
I think I've seen that fake news somewhere before. But we all know that sponsors drive this sport. Alan, any reaction or statements from either team sponsors?
Well, I talked with Mars today, and here's what a spokesman told me. Quote, the recent actions by Kyle Busch are not consistent with the values of Mars Chocolate North America. While we are disappointed with the situation, we hope the drivers and team members involved learn from this experience and continue to grow as professional athletes representing the sport. So the sponsor weighing in today, Shannon.
Thanks so much, Alan. And you got to remember that stuff with Ron Hornaday Jr. was on the track with cars involved at very high speeds, and this wasn't. So now time for another one of our Connect Live questions. Here they are. Here it is. What should Kyle Busch's penalty be? Should he be docked points, suspended, both, or neither? So you guys can log on and you can vote on that, and we will continue to watch how those go. Right now, you can see neither is leading the way. So $15,000 for that fight, huh?
You
had to remind him.
I got $15,000 for a good catch.
Did you? Did you pay in pennies?
Yeah.
Like in pennies?
That probably would have been a good way to go about it. I mean, it changes, right? Year to year,
Yeah.
there's different scenarios. But yeah, for that time, we got fined.
Are you surprised to hear sort of the narrative sounds like we're not going to see any fines come down?
I can't say that it's a complete surprise. You know, I think that, NASCAR never really wants to go that route if they don't have to. And in light of the situation and the sponsor involved now, I mean, maybe things have lightened up a little bit, and that's kind of the direction they're going.
I think when you look at this whole situation, though, it totally caught me off guard. Drew, early in the season, I mean, they weren't racing for the lead, top 5 certainly. Did this catch you off guard post-race, this transpired?
A little bit, because we know Kyle is a little bit of a hothead, but you usually don't see Kyle fighting after the races. You might see, run his mouth a little bit to a reporter or to another guy, but not one to throw a punch. So seeing that Kyle getting physical like that was a little surprising.
NASCAR has said no retaliation, but as a driver, when something like this happens, how aware are you of where those guys are on the racetrack? Especially at a place like Phoenix, where, it's a place where we could see something happen if it was.
I mean, if you're racing against those guys, you're going to be mindful of where they're at. If they're together, you're going to be mindful of that. But at the end of the day, you kind of put that in the back of your mind, and they hopefully have put it in the back of their mind too, and they can get through a race without something happening. But you're mindful of it, and you don't want to put yourself in a bad spot when they're getting after it.
What's the penalty, guys? What do you think?
Just some money is what I think.
Money?
Yeah, you think he'll be fined?
Yeah. Don't do points.
Yeah.
Money.
Okay. Yeah.
Money.
Don't hurt the team. I mean, that wasn't a team thing.
That's
Well, there you go.
The fans at home
They don't think
say
anything's gonna
neither.
happen.
Just let them slide. They like this boys have at it. Hey, and we like it too. And this promo placed here on purpose. Tomorrow, it's the Premier Boxing Champions top fighters as they go toe-to-toe on FS1. And it's not Busch and Logano. It's the Technician versus the Hitman. Premier Boxing Champions toe-to-toe. Tomorrow, 9 Eastern on FS1.
You're not going to try that name?
No, I'm not.
If they don't get fined, do I get a rebate?
Yeah. We'll be right back with Race Hub. More to come.
Back on NASCAR Race Hub, here's what drivers are saying on Twitter about Las Vegas. Denny Hamlin, what's up? I heard there was a fight. Hashtag sarcasm, huh?
Yes, there was, Denny. Dale Jr., yup, when you're mad, you do stuff like that, but no matter how justified, pissed you feel, maybe it's best to do it off camera. Good point from Dale.
And from Joey's teammate, Brad Keselowski, in my opinion, fighting in motorsports is dumb. It always turns into a pile and your own guys are hitting each other. At least in hockey, they're good at it. Let's just take the gloves off, right? Just like in hockey. You know, last week, Regan Smith was here with Ty Dillon, and they had a little shoving match at Watkins Glen a few years ago, and we played the video and laughed. And then Regan said very seriously, we need more of that post-race emotion because eventually guys are going to make up. But rivalries are big in sports. We need them in NASCAR, and I think Joey and Kyle are two good candidates for this. I mean, they would be great rivals in our sport.
Two young guys at the top of their game with great teams and backing. They can, and they're going to race around each other a lot for their careers.
Yeah, and if you look at some of the rivalries in the past, it's always some of the top dogs, right? It's the guys that are really going after it, really trying to get something done on the track, and when that happens, tensions are high.
You look at rivalries in other sports, in football, baseball, basketball, and a lot of times you only play that other team, your rival, maybe once, twice, a couple times a season. You guys not only race against each other every weekend, you live about 50 feet from each other in the motorhome. You're on the back of those cars during the ride around. Does that make this rivalry, does it intensify it, or does it cool it, being around that guy all the time?
At the end of the day, I think it cools it a little bit quicker, just because you are we're this traveling circus together, right? So you're going to see him in passing. You might have your motorhome park next to him that next week. Like you said, you might be riding in the truck. So it creates opportunity to have that conversation, that needs to happen before you go into that next race. But, they tend to linger sometimes, though. I mean, people hold those thoughts for a long time.
Put, like, your baby diapers in his garbage? Like,
That's not nice. Let's go to the Connect Live, foxsports.com/vote. And the question is, are rivalries good for NASCAR? Yes or no? And the fans at home, they're loving this. 75, almost 80% now saying that rivalries are good for NASCAR. I just think it breathes so much additional life into any sport. And I think about the heyday with Gordon and Earnhardt. Think about what a difference maker that was for NASCAR.
Yeah, and before that, Earnhardt and Waltrip and Rusty was in there. And those guys, they made a huge difference for the sport. So I think, we've heard a lot of times this show, emotion. And when there's emotion involved with the fans and with the drivers, people get involved.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times in racing too, drivers are in helmets. We're inside cars. You can't see us. So I don't think it's bad every now and then when we get outside the car, they see who you are, what you're about. We're locked. They're watching our car. They don't know what we're feeling like inside that car. So sometimes it's good to see that.
I say that all the time, Casey, from covering other sports, is that you don't get to see the emotion, and this is something that we see. I'm okay with the fighting, out of the cars, but once it carries into the cars and on the racetrack, I get a little concerned because it could be dangerous. So let's take a look at see what you guys at home have said. 86%, that's a pretty strong amount that say rivalries in NASCAR. Bring it! Bring the rivalries.
You look like Tony Gibson when he won the Daytona 500.
Yes, I do. Channeling my inner old man. We'll be right back.
Fight him. No, never. Tomorrow on The Hub, once again at 7 on FS1, a huge guest lineup. Chad Canals will be here, and the big story maker, Joey Logano, in studio as well. Plus, it's Tuesday. And you know what that means. Radioactive back once again.
I've never dealt with that one day in my life. Until we did Daytona 500. Let's keep focused. 30-20 on the leaders. That's great for them. We're proud of them. We're doing the best we can, man. Winning. Focus.
Oh, lovely. Social Garage today. Take a look at this one. Our race winner, Martin Truex. Guard dog is sleepy. What a day. That's a cool shot. And Denver Broncos, they are congratulating Martin Truex Jr. and his team on their victory. And Sam Bush, what really matters? Yes, that is what really matters. Your family. I agree.
That's a nice, peaceful way to end what was not a good day at the racetrack.
I think perspective is everything. Perspective is everything. So we did have some high rollers at the race this weekend. Isn't that right? We got a little shot at some guys in the garage. Some high rollers, right?
Oh, yeah. There you go.
You never know who's going to show up when you're in Las Vegas. Shaking hands.
Well, you know how it is.
It looks like Hangover Part 4 was made before that.
We were shooting part of a show here. You know what I mean?
Chow's coming through at any moment.
The one with the satchel was behind you.
Hey, my favorite part of that whole deal, Michael at one point said, "Hey, Adam, will you take a picture so that everybody knows I still have fans?" So that one's going in the archives somewhere.
He just told your secret, Michael. Oh, goodness
yeah, I'm
gracious.
Michael's personal photographer. That's just how it works, you know.
Tomorrow, Joey Logano, did he get hit or not? We want to hear.
That's right.
We're going to ask him tomorrow. Thanks for being here today, guys.
He should have done that.
Thanks for having a good time. We will see you tomorrow right back here on Hub.